Well, hello, it's Buddy Bob, back for another edition of the Rock and Roll Travelogue. We're searching out those artists from the 50s through the 1990s, and we're back on the road in the Motor City, Detroit, for one more shot. Well, there's more to music in Detroit than just the Motown music of the 1960s. What we're going to do is we are going to start out and stop at this grade school at 17139 Oak Drive in Detroit. This is Jesu Elementary. It's a Catholic school where a young Aaliyah Houghton attended school, and this is where she caught the showbiz bug. She lived with her parents right down the street from the elementary school, and I should point out that her mother's brother is a man named Barry Hankerson. He's a record producer, a manager, and a record label owner. He owned Blackground Records, and he signed this young girl to the label at the age of only 12. Hankerson was once married to the Motown star Gladys Knight, who took the young girl under her wing, and that certainly didn't hurt the young girl's career. Well, this young woman rose to fame in 1994 with her first hit. The song was called Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. She became the rhythm and blues princess, and she became known as just simply Aaliyah. One in a Million, Are You That Somebody followed. In later 1990s, they were both number one songs. She had a song called Rock the Boat. It was a big hit as well in 2001, and the video for the song was recorded in the Bahamas. But sadly, the return trip to Florida after the recording resulted in a plane crash that killed Aaliyah and 7 others. The plane was overloaded with people and equipment. Weight and balance. I took private pilot lessons many years ago, and I remember the first week, the instructor said, weight and balance, you must do the calculation every time you get on an airplane, because if there's too much weight or it's improperly balanced, you'll never get off the ground. And that's what happened. They couldn't take off, and they crashed. And there's another saying in the aviation industry, if people just kind of cut corners because they basically just want to get back home, it's a disease in aviation called get-there-itis, and it kills a lot of people. Well, on a positive note, I think it's time to go downtown Detroit to 1145 Griswold. This is the home of the famous White Room Studios. Now, a young Michigan native worked there, and he eventually recorded there. Kid Rock. Other big stars that recorded here, Aretha Franklin and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, big in the 1990s. We'll visit Kid Rock's hometown north of Detroit and have some more stories about Kid Rock later. I got a question for you. Do you like baseball? Have you been to Comerica Park to see the Detroit Tigers? Well, I've got a tip for you. If you're going to the ballpark, stop and have a meal at Mom's Spaghetti across the street from Comerica Park. Mom's is at 2131 Woodward Avenue. It was opened in 2021 by the rapper Eminem, and the restaurant is beneath the world headquarters for Little Caesars Pizza, which, by the way, the family of Little Caesars owns the Detroit Tigers. Eminem was a Detroiter, although not born there. He was born Marshall Bruce Mathers III. He and his mother lived in poverty, and finally, in his young years, they finally settled in Detroit. I want to talk about Mom's Spaghetti for just a moment. It's a reference to Eminem's song called Lose Yourself from the soundtrack to his movie called 8 Mile. And by the way, 8 Mile is a very well-known Detroit street. You might remember the lyrics. They went like this. There's vomit on his sweater already. It's Mom's Spaghetti. So that's how the restaurant got its name. Eminem frequented the hip-hop shop, shown here, at 15736 West 7 Mile. And that was a clothing store, but in the 1990s, the main event became hip-hop competitions. Wow, it was something else. If you go up here on the white facade, you will see hip-hop shop, but you can't see it in this picture. You have to get real close. It's kind of been rubbed away. Well, not far from here, at a record shop in East Detroit, now called East Point, Kid Rock was signing autographs. And there was a kid there one day that kept hounding him. This precocious kid said, "I want to battle you, Kid Rock. I want to battle you in a competition." That kid would become Eminem and a big, big star. By the way, Kid Rock had a song called "It's Still East Detroit to Me." This was after the name was changed to East Point in the early 90s. And while we're on the subject of East Detroit, there was a young man born there, went to school there, named Vince Fernier. He became Alice Cooper. Well, it's time to get some more sights before the day is over. Let's head over to a Detroit icon. This was a big spot in the 60s and 70s. The Grande Ballroom at 8952 Grand River Avenue. Now, this place, it's obviously still standing, but it's been vacant for years. This is the place that helped launch the career of a young man named James Osterberg Jr. He became Iggy Pop with his Stooges. He grew up in Ann Arbor, close to Detroit, and this is where he really made his bones. And a live album was recorded here by one of the house bands. They were the MC5, and you see written on the Grande Ballroom, "Kick Out the Jams." That was the name of their song in 1970, the live album right there at the Grande Ballroom. Cream played there, The Who, Pink Floyd, you name it, they all played there in the 60s and 70s. Well, I say let's finish up. Let's head out to the suburbs. Specifically, we're going to Royal Oak, Michigan. And this is where Glenn Fry grew up. He went to high school here at Dondero High School. He graduated in 1966. And a few years earlier, by the way, there was a young man by the name of Tom Hayden that graduated the same school. He became a political activist in California and later was married to Jane Fonda for a while. Well, anyway, back to Glenn Fry. At the school is Glenn Fry Drive at 709 Washington Street in Royal Oak, Michigan. Glenn Fry then, of course, left school. He went to the West Coast, and he met Don Henley in 1970. The two were hired by Linda Ronstadt to be part of her backup band. And after that gig, they got together, recruited several more people, and they became the Eagles. In this case, Glenn played the rhythm guitar, sang co-lead with Don Henley, and they wrote many of the Eagles songs, a fantastic band. They are one of the best-selling bands of all time. The Eagles broke up in the 80s, but Glenn went on to a very successful solo career. Well, in our next stop on the Rock and Roll Travelogue, we're going to spotlight a Michigan singer who was extremely influential in Glenn Fry's early career. But before we go today, I want to recap the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame members that we learned about today. They are Eminem, Glenn Fry and the Eagles, Iggy Pop and the Stooges, and Alice Cooper, all Detroiters. That's another episode in the can of Rock and Roll Travelogue. I'm your buddy Bob. Until next time, good heart and stout luck.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.